Well, howdy, folks. Wade here, and welcome back to Wade's Old Ways, where we dig up the kind of practical knowledge that used to be common sense and somewhere along the way just stopped being passed down. Today, we are talking about bugs and about a $4 bag of powder that has been sitting on the shelf at your local farm supplies store your whole life that kills over 100 kinds of crawling pests, leaves no chemical behind, and works in a way that no insect on Earth can ever build a resistance to. Every neighborhood in America has got the same story. The white truck pulls up. The man walks the perimeter with his canister, leaves a piece of paper on your door, and drives away. $800 a year, sometimes $1,000. And not just this year, every year, because the ants come back next month. The roaches come back in the spring. The fleas come back with the dog, round and round, year after year, with that same truck and that same bill. What most people never find out is that the old farmers knew a different way. A soft white powder dug straight from the ground that has been keeping barns and granaries and kitchens clean for generations. No monthly contract, no chemicals, no salesman at the door. Just a $4 bag and a little know-how. Let me tell you what it is. The name is Diatomaceous earth. That is a long, fancy phrase for something that could not be simpler. It is a mineral, soft, chalky, white, mined from certain deposits in the earth the way you might mine clay or chalk. When they grind it fine, it becomes a powder so light it almost floats. You can pour it through your fingers. It feels like talc. It looks like nothing at all. To you and me, it is harmless dust. But here is where it gets interesting. Under a magnifying glass, those soft white particles are not soft at all. They are tiny, hard, jagged fragments, sharp as broken glass at the scale of a small creature. What feels like flour to a human hand is a field of razor edges to an ant or a cockroach. And that is how it works. When a crawling insect walks across a thin dusting of this powder, those sharp little fragments scratch through the waxy coating on the creature's outer shell. That coating is what holds the moisture inside the insect's body. Once it is scratched through, the moisture leaks out. The bug dries up and dies. It is not poisoned. It is not made sick in any chemical way. It simply cannot hold its water anymore. And here is the part that matters most, the part that makes the pest control industry uncomfortable. Bugs can build resistance to chemical poisons over generations. The strong ones survive. They breed. And after enough time, the spray that worked 10 years ago stops working. That is exactly what has happened with bed bugs in most American cities. The sprays have largely stopped working because the bugs have adapted. But you cannot build a resistance to a sharp edge. No insect can grow itself a shell thick enough to walk through broken glass unharmed. The physics do not negotiate. That is why this powder works on the bedbug strains that no chemical will touch anymore. And that is why it has been working the same way since long before any of us were born. The list of what it kills is long and worth knowing. Ants, the little ones crossing your kitchen counter. The carpenter ants in the woodwork. The fire ants by the porch. Cockroaches, both the small kind and the large. Fleas in the carpet and on the dog's bedding. Bed bugs, which, as I mentioned, have become one of the places this powder is winning, where everything else has failed. Silverfish in the bathroom. Earwigs in the basement. Crickets that sneak in for the winter. Slugs in the garden. Weevils and beetles in stored flour and grain. Spider mites on houseplants. Ticks in the high grass near the kennel. The government registered this powder as a pesticide back in 1960. Over 60 years ago. It is what organic farmers use on their crops because it leaves no chemical residue in the soil or on the food. And it is the same powder that old-time grain keepers mix directly into stored wheat to keep the weevils out because it is safe enough to eat in small amounts. That is the kind of powder we are talking about. Now,
honest words about what it does not do, because I will not oversell it. It works best on soft-bodied insects and smaller ones. Ants, fleas, bedbugs. It takes them down in a day or two. On bigger, harder-shelled creatures like a full-grown beetle or a tough cockroach, it takes longer. 3 days, a week, sometimes more. They have more shell to grind through and more moisture to lose. So you do not dust it down and expect a floor covered in dead bugs by morning. It is slow and it is sure. The ones that walk through it do not walk long. It just takes a little patience. It also does not kill insect eggs. It kills the living bug that walks through it. Eggs hatch, become living bugs. Those bugs walk through the powder and then they die. For fast-breeding creatures, you leave the powder in place for several weeks, through more than one hatching cycle, until they are gone. And the most important limit of all, the one that ruins most people's first try. Wet powder does nothing. Rain, dew, mopping, high humidity, water clumps the particles together and dulls those sharp little edges. Dry, the powder stays active for as long as it sits there. Wet, it goes to sleep. This is the thing to remember above all else. Now, before you go to the store, there is one thing you must know, because getting this wrong is the most common mistake people make. There are 2 grades of diatomaceous earth sold in this country: food grade and pool grade. They look nearly the same in the bag. They cost about the same, and the difference between them is enormous. Food grade is the plain ground mineral with nothing added. This is the one for pest control. Safe to use around your kitchen, your children, your pets. The government considers it safe enough to mix into stored food at small doses. Pool grade has been heated to very high temperatures to make it useful for filtering swimming pool water. That heat changes its chemistry and makes it far more dangerous to breathe. Pool grade is not for pest control. Pool grade is not for indoor use. When you go to buy it, the bag must say food grade. The brand Harris is one most folks know, and you can find it at garden centers, farm supply stores, hardware stores, or online. A 4-pound bag runs $4 to $8 and handles a whole house. How you apply it matters just as much as which bag you buy. The first and most important rule: a thin dusting, not a pile. This trips up nearly everyone the first time. New folks dump out a heap thinking more is better. It is not. Bugs will see a pile and walk around it. What you want is a barely visible film, the lightest coat you can manage, so the creature does not even know it is there until it has already walked through it. The best tool for this is a powder duster, a small squeeze bottle with a long tip that puffs the powder out in a fine cloud. A few dollars at the same place you buy the powder. You can also use a clean spice shaker or tap it gently by hand with a dust mask on. Inside the house, you put it where the bugs actually travel. Along the baseboards in every room, a thin line where the wall meets the floor. Behind and under the refrigerator, the stove, the dishwasher. In cabinet corners, especially under the sink. Around door frames and window frames where ants come in. If you can get inside a wall void, an outlet cover off. Say a small puff in there stays bone dry for years and keeps working long after you have forgotten it is there. For fleas, you dust lightly into the carpet, especially under furniture, and along the edges of rooms where the dog rests. Leave it for a few days, then vacuum. For the dog's bedding, dust a little into the seams. For bed bugs, dust thinly under the mattress into the seams of the bed frame, the joints of the base, and along the baseboards of the bedroom. Then leave it alone and let it work. The bugs cross it on their nightly travels and slowly die over the days that follow. Outside, dust lightly along the foundation of the house, around the base of garden beds for slugs, around the chicken coop or rabbit hutch, along fence line cracks. Apply in the morning after the dew has burned off, and only when no rain is coming for a day or two. After rain, you dust again. That is the trade for outdoor use. For stored grain, flour, or dried beans, this is the old farm trick. Mix a small amount of food-grade powder into your stored grain, about a cup to every 50 pounds, or a teaspoon or two into a 5-gallon bucket. It coats every kernel, and any weevil that tries to feed on the grain walks through the powder and dies. Your grain stays clean for years instead of months. A few words about safety, because I will not skip them. Wear a dust mask when you are working in a closed space. The powder is not a poison. You could swallow a small amount, and your body would pass it right through. But breathing in any fine dust day after day is not good for the inside of your nose and lungs. In a well-vented room or outdoors, it is barely a concern. But in tight spaces, wear the mask. Keep it away from places where small children might puff it into the air, not because it will harm them, but because no child needs a face full of dust of any kind. It is gentle around cats and dogs, far more so than nearly any other pest control. A thin dusting only on or near animals, because heavy use can dry out their skin and paws. One more honest word about the garden. This powder does not know a useful insect from a pest. It can harm bees if you put it directly on flowers they visit. So in the garden, dust around the base of the plant, on the soil, on the slug paths, not on the open blooms where the bees are working. The good gardener protects the bees as carefully as he deals with the slugs. Now think about what all this means. A soft white mineral dug from the ground. No chemistry to it. $4 a bag. Kills more than 100 kinds of crawling pests by a simple physical mechanism that no insect can ever adapt to. Leaves no chemical residue. Safe enough to use in your kitchen and around your family. Lasts for years in any dry spot where you put it. And the pest control company down the road charges your neighbor $800 a year to come back every single month. How can both those things be true at once? They are both true. And the reason most people never find out about the powder is simple. There is no money in a $4 one-time solution. There is enormous money in a monthly subscription. The whole industry, the trucks, the canisters, the contracts, is built on you needing them back next month. A powder you dust once and forget cannot pay a salesman's commission. So nobody runs a commercial for it. Nobody knocks on your door to recommend it. My grandfather kept a bag of this in the granary and another in the chicken coop. The old farmers always knew. The bag has been on the shelf at the feed store the whole time. Most folks have just never been told to look for it. You are being told now. Go find a feed store, a garden center, or the right shelf at your hardware store. Ask for food-grade Diatomaceous earth. Make sure the bag says food grade. Pick up a small powder duster while you are there. Dust a fine, barely visible line along your baseboards, behind your refrigerator, under the stove, around the sink cabinet, along the outside foundation of your house. Then leave it alone. 2 days, 4 days, a week. The bugs will cross it. They will die. And the powder will still be working when the next ones try. Tell me in the comments, what pest has been giving you the most trouble? Ants, roaches, fleas, bed bugs, silverfish? Come back after you try it and tell me what you found over the following 2 weeks. The stories you all share teach the new folks more than I ever could. I read every single one. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this was useful, hit that like button and subscribe to Wade's Old Ways. There is plenty more where this came from.
Until next time, take care of your home, take care of your family, and don't pay a man to do what a $4 bag can do better. This is Wade. See you soon.